And we are continuing our Teacher Voices series as we celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week, and we may continue to do this really right on through the end of the school year. We'll see. Do it until we run out of teachers, maybe. But with us today is Beth Deir. Is that how you pronounce it?
It is Deir.
It is Deir, okay. And you teach at Hickory Middle School. What do you teach?
I teach 7th grade life science.
Okay. So first of all, let's start with you. How are you managing at this unbelievably crazy time?
Well, as an introvert who's happy at home, I personally am doing fine. We live in a multi-generational household here. My mom, my husband, and I, and our 2 children. My daughter's a high school senior, so we have a whole basket of issues that go along with not being able to experience the senior year the way one would hope to. And my son is an 8th grader getting ready for high school next year. But there are always plenty of helping hands with yard work and getting dinner ready.
Right. Well, that's good. Tell me about your interactions with your students. How are you managing that?
Well, luckily, before March 13th came and went, I utilize a lot of technology as a science teacher. I love bringing, oops, sorry, the dogs. I love bringing technology into my classroom for the students to engage with. So the kids were actually pretty well versed on using Google Classroom and turning in electronic assignments. So now, in addition to messaging, I set up a Google Voice number so they could text me or call me without using my personal phone number. And once a week, we have a weekly Wednesday meet where we get together, just all the kids that I teach, as many of them as can click at 9:30 in the morning. I know they're not all rocking and rolling at that time of day, but we get together and we just share. I like to think of it as the rose and the thorn. What's bringing you joy these days, what's giving you a hard time these days, and then we push forward through the lesson of the week.
Okay. So are they able to, life science, I don't know how much lab work there is, and obviously they're not doing dissections.
No. Those days are long gone.
Right.
In this particular unit, in this time of year, it's great because we're studying the ecosystem. So the first couple of assignments involve them going outdoors and looking, map your neighborhood. What kinds of plants and animals do you see there? What kinds of living and non-living things are there? And we've progressed through food chains and food webs. So the kids have been able to look out their window and, sit on the porch and identify different kinds of organisms that we have that interact. But we still do rely on some new material that they have to navigate, whether it's reading or maybe an interactive on the computer on some of the different websites.
Well, generally speaking, and I know really talking to teachers, every kid is in a different situation at home. Generally speaking, how are they managing that? Do you perceive?
Well, as a personal soapbox of mine, I am very aware of the equity gap that we have here in the state of Virginia. Even at, in Chesapeake and at Hickory Middle School, there's a gap in availability of resources. So my science teachers and I plan with the best of intentions. We're going to plan this unit or this week's activities as if kids could get online and do their work. And once we've got that taken care of, then we step back and say, all right, how can we take this and convert it into something that kids who don't have access to technology can work on? So with my principal's suggestions, we've kind of honed it down to just a few pages of information a week that the kids can read through and practice and interact with on their own.
Okay. What obviously some of the challenges, I guess, are obvious or maybe not, but what are some of the specific challenges you're having? But what are some of the positive things, the sort of bright spots, the roses that have come out of this virtual teaching?
Well, one of the things that I am most pleased with is my students, the 90 kids that I teach, are very well versed on meet etiquette. Before our COVID shutdown, we would regularly meet by way of the internet with different scientists and explorers through National Geographic's Explore Classroom or another organization called Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, where we would have live discussions with people all around the world who study all different kinds of things. So the kids already knew about being quiet, being respectful, waiting to speak. So once we converted into our own little meeting space online, I didn't really have to reteach them the expectations because they already knew. So that's one of the bright spots. Another is when I see kids helping each other with the technology. For example, sometimes we're in a meet and the chat bar is full of, I can't see or I can't hear, and then they're giving tech support to one another along the way. And I just find that so endearing. I love it when kids help each other. But the challenge is, you know, many houses are like mine. There might be 1 or 2 computers for 5 or 6 or 7 different people. And early on, I got a message from one of my parents saying, you know, I have to virtually meet with my employer or my coworkers at this particular time of day, which is a conflict with what the school has planned. So we work around it. You know, I record the meets and make them available so kids can watch them at their leisure if they're not morning people or if they just can't access the technology in the household at the time. But one of my biggest concerns are the invisible kids who have kind of fallen out of contact. Even though I can send them an email or call their parents and say, hey, don't forget, there is a fraction of the population that just is kind of disengaged for whatever reason, and I can't pull them back in.
Is it your experience that those are students who were sort of disengaged already, or has this current situation sort of put them in that position?
I'd like to think that the situation is exacerbating things. You know, not to toot my own horn, but science isn't for everyone, but science class is fun. We have things to look at, we have things to do. So when we were face to face in the classroom, I could always pull somebody into the conversation. I could always ask somebody their opinion. But when we're not together in the same room, you know, all the phone calls and emails and whatnot can't bring them back to me. So that's bad.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry to hear that. What advice would you give for parents of, let's say, middle school students especially, and for students in sort of continuing their learning and getting through this tough time?
Well, I think my tip for parents is, you know, keeping it real. The expectation that's set by the state and therefore the city is relatively minimal. So even though a teacher might give your student 2 or 3 or 4 things to try to do during the course of the week, we just want to know that they're able to try some of it. So I tell my students and I tell my parents, just try something and show me that you're trying. That way I can give you feedback to let you know, yes, you're on the right track. Or just like in the classroom, when I'd write a note on their paper, I might say, hey, I can see where you're confused about something. Let me help you clear it up. So I don't want families to think that they need to do every piece of work that every single teacher is providing to them. It's really just something to keep the kids engaged in the material.
Right. Well, the last thing that struck me and kind of just snuck right by me, I think when you said you and your 90 students, I don't think sometimes people realize that that's 90 students that you're meeting with and really dealing with. I know you deal with them on an individual basis anyway, but when they're right in front of you in a room, that's different from having to reach out and use the technology. So you're really to be congratulated. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I'm sure the parents do too.
Oh, thank you so much.
Kids engaged. Well, Beth, I'm gonna let you get back to your busy schedule. I appreciate the time.
Sure thing.
And hang in there and stay well.
Thank you very much. You too, sir.
Thanks.